Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Wesley Enoch, and I'll be your MC tonight. Just can you please put your hands together for Clarence Lockie and Matthew Doyle for the wonderful didgeridoo sweep through the room. I'm joined here on stage by Alana, who's going to be our Auslan interpreter, and who will help us get through to translate. If you do need any translation Auslan, please make sure you've got a line to Alana here. So good evening and welcome to this, the 26th Annual Awards in many different forms. I'm a Nunakal Nugi man. My family come from Minjidaba, just off the coast of Brisbane. And it's that wonderful sense of coming to this place and feeling welcome here, which is always a great thing for these particular awards. I'm your master of ceremony, but I'd like to start by acknowledging the wisdom in the room. The wisdom in which we stand on this particular part of the country. Remembering that this is called Bennelong Point. And in many ways, Bennelong is noted for his interpretation, but also as an interlocutor, a person who brought white and black together, who interpreted and changed the nature of relationships here in this part of the country. It's no accident, I think, that we built a world-class opera house on this particular site. And I acknowledge that long-held tradition of telling stories, of welcoming people in, and I guess too this history of work that happens in this place, from the tram sheds all the way through to the building of this magnificent structure. This idea of work, of art, of culture, of coming together. The Gadigal clan of the Eora, who have been part of this landscape for thousands of generations, and their wisdom of their elders that have been passed on in that art, in that cultural expression, and in that work that we do. As artists, I think many people who live in this city, who work in this country, know that it's not done easily. It's done through hard work. And that we're here tonight to celebrate our traditions, our cultural antecedents, and also the idea of the hard work of artists to make this country a better place to live in. We're welcomed here by many people by history, and we were going to be welcomed by Aunty Yvonne Whelan tonight, but she is in fact she became a grandmother again. And so she passes on her respects, but I think, as always, family always comes first. But we are here gathered on this country of the Eora, and we understand that we are welcomed in as family on this place, especially our arts and cultural family all around. I also would like to acknowledge the wisdom in the room, the grey hair, the coloured hair, the absence of hair. This sense of hard work that every individual in the room does as their contribution to the artistic and cultural life of this country. So please, can you give yourself a round of applause and say thank you for coming tonight to this amazing event. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the Deputy Chair of the Australia Council, Leanne Juniper Buckskin. Now, Leanne was appointed to the board of the Australia Council in 2013 and was announced as the Australia Council's first Indigenous Deputy Chair in 2016. Let me say that again. The Australia Council's first Indigenous Deputy Chair in 2016. What an amazing kind of outcome and achievement. And she's been reappointed just recently for another 3 years. Give her a round of applause. She's a respected leader throughout this country and also throughout the world. Please welcome Leanne Buckskin.
Thank you, Wesley. Thank you, everybody. Look, welcome this evening. I always get so excited about the 27th of May, particularly in this place, where we bring all of our artists, all of our peers together, and we celebrate our great Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artists. I'm a Narungga Wirrungul Wodjabalik woman from South Australia, and I also acknowledge my grandmother on the Victorian side. Look, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people and also acknowledge the spirit and strength and resilience demonstrated by Gadigal people here in Sydney. You know, their connection, stewardship, their leadership is so greatly appreciated, not just by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who come and visit here quite regularly and who have made this place, this country, their home, but also for all non-Indigenous people who have migrated and made this area their home as well. And your leadership is very greatly respected. Welcome to the celebration of the 12th Annual National Indigenous Arts Awards. I would also take the opportunity to also acknowledge all of our elders present in the room this evening and to our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander brothers and sisters, uncles, aunties, grandparents, and as we all do. So welcome. I'd also like to acknowledge the Australia Council's CEO, and it gives me great pleasure to acknowledge Adrian Collette and all of my colleagues at the Australia Council, and Darren, our newest board member as well. Welcome this evening. This is a remarkable year. We are celebrating not just the recipients of the National Indigenous Arts Awards, but also First Nations artists who have been awarded Australia Council Fellowships and Australia Council's awards, totalling 9 artists. This is truly wonderful. Also this week in fact, some of us are participating in an industry briefing forum on the current developments for a First Nations arts and cultural sector peak body, the National Indigenous Arts and Cultural Authority. You may know it as NIACA. Since October 2018, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts of the Australia Council for the Arts has been the Secretariat to the First Nations Arts and Cultural Sector for the development of the proposed NIACA. Some 40 consultation forums have been held nationally to assist the sector in developing a national peak body to represent and advocate for First Nations arts and culture in Australia. The purpose of NIACA is to be a national coordinating body, provide a collective voice and meaningful representation for First Nations people on policy and issues around art and culture. NIACA will be an independent First Nations arts and cultural peak body. Our involvement over the years has been important in determining how we approach the NIACA national consultations and how we frame these discussions with a diverse range of stakeholders, from independent artists, arts and cultural groups and organisations, peak bodies and communities. The national consultations are drawing to a close as we head into the next phase of this important work, which also includes expert roundtables, regional summits and a national summit in late November, so put this in your diary, please, when it's announced. We also have a website that you can go to. Just go through the Australia Council's website. The formation of this body is well and truly overdue. Over 90% of Australians had voted in the 1967 referendum to include Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in the census and give the Australian government powers to make laws for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The 27th of May each year commemorates the 1967 referendum. Furthermore, this coming week also marks the anniversary of the Mabo decision. Uncle Eddie Koiku Mabo led a 10-year challenge that resulted in the important High Court decision that debunked the legal fiction of terra nullius, or land that belonged to no one, or wasteland. The decision recognised that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples had a prior existence in this land before the arrival of the British, and that the First Nations people of this land had been practising their culture, art and languages for over 75,000 years. This case recognised that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have rights to their land and culture. These rights existed before the British arrived and still exist today. These rights are particularly important because art is so intrinsically linked to our cultures. It expresses who we are and speaks to our sense of identity. This is why the formation of NIACA is important. It is also important that the principles of self-determination continue to be at the core of how Council engages with our First Nations peoples. This ceremony is a very special occasion which brings people together, creating and working in First Nations arts and culture to celebrate our achievements. Tonight we are highlighting the remarkable career achievements of several well-established recipients and also drawing attention to artists who may be at the earlier stages of their careers but already have attracted significant acclaim. So welcome everyone to this event. We are all so very happy that you're here to join us and to celebrate with our artists tonight. It is now my privilege to introduce our Chief Executive Officer of the Australia Council, Mr. Adrian Collette. Make him feel welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne, very much indeed. Good evening, everyone. It's indeed a privilege to meet with you today on the land where people have gathered to share art, culture and knowledge for more than 60,000 years. I would like to add my acknowledgement of the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples present this evening and elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge colleagues Wesley Enoch and board members, our Deputy Chair Leanne Buckskin, Darren Rudd, welcome to the Australia Council as board member. And I'm sure I saw somewhere my predecessor, Tony Grabowski. There he is, up the back. Tony, thank you so much for being here and supporting these awards, which I know mean a lot to you personally. I would also like to acknowledge that with the appointment of the Honourable Ken Wyatt as Minister for Indigenous Australians, we have for the first time an Indigenous politician responsible for Indigenous affairs and policy in this country. Tonight, we will present, as you know, prestigious Red Ochre Awards for Outstanding Lifetime Achievement, the Dreaming Award for Recognition of an Emerging Artist, and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Fellowship that supports the creation of major work by an artist. This is an outstanding year for us because in addition to presenting these awards, tonight we will also celebrate the First Nations artists who are the recipients of the Australia Council Fellowships and the Australia Council Awards. Altogether, as Leanne said, 9 artists will be honoured in this significant celebration of First Nations arts and culture. In the speech notes I was given, crafted to celebrate the achievements of the artists we honour this evening, I read this: First Nations peoples' profound knowledge and deep connections to the land we inhabit is transmitted and embodied in language, art, dance, song, stories, and ceremony. These uniquely Australian stories are at the heart of Australia's history and cultural identity. First Nations cultures are central to Australia's national identity, I read. How I wish we could make that claim with hand on heart, but we simply can't yet. I can't but feel we fall short of this heroic claim. I hope that First Nations centrality to Australia's national identity is something we can confidently claim one day, for all Australians will benefit tremendously when this is the case. Non-Indigenous Australians have much to learn from the collective knowledge of tens of thousands of centuries of sustained culture. And such an aspiration holds even greater promise in my view. It could help build what Rhoda Roberts, one of the leaders we are honouring tonight, has called our cultural fibre, our way of responding positively to the many cultures that now make up Australia's contemporary society. This is such an exciting and energising prospect. On a good day, I believe that the great forgetting is easing, that through the work of fine Indigenous artists like those we honour this evening, or researchers and academics, or through the rigour of writers like Bruce Pascoe or Bill Gamage or Alexis Wright, we are finding a way of articulating both the importance and the gift of First Nations ways of knowing. And I would certainly argue that we won't arrive at a plausible national identity without understanding the centrality of Indigenous cultures. On a good day, like this one, this is a good day, I am persuaded by Bruce Pascoe's prediction that it seems improbable that a country can continue to hide from the actuality of its history in order to validate the fact that having said sorry, we refuse to say thanks. And this, I think, is why our awards this evening, sincere acts of recognition, are not only celebratory but critically important. Each is a step along the way, at least, to say thanks. The Australia Council is committed to supporting First Nations artists to develop their practice and to share these stories and cultural knowledge with the next generation. Advocacy and support of Indigenous art was enshrined in the very purposes of the Australian Council, as it was then called when it was established in 1964. It was central to our emerging ambitions then. It is central to our purpose still. There is never enough money and there needs to be greater investment. But here is an area where I think our support is making a real difference. And I thank in particular the work of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander arts team led by Lola and the essential guidance of our ATSIA panel chaired by Wesley Enoch. Thank you, Wesley. We are also committed to encouraging private public partnerships in the arts. In 2017, a second Red Ochre Award was introduced to ensure both a male and female recipient are honoured each year. Initially supported through donations from the Australia Council's staff and board under its Workplace Giving program, we're now committed to presenting these two Red Ochre Awards each year, and I thank my colleagues in particular for their support. You will see also, importantly, that we've created new physical awards that will be presented this evening. These are artworks in themselves created by artist Jenny Kamara Martiniello, who's with us this evening. Jenny, congratulations. In her Canberra studio. Drawing inspiration from the Australian landscape, each piece has been individually crafted to embody the award that it represents. Finally, I would like simply to take this opportunity to offer my congratulations to this year's remarkable recipients. Thank you for enriching our lives. It's now my very great pleasure to hand back to Wesley as we begin the presentation of the awards.
Thank you, Adrian. Now, on to the presentation for this year's awards. But just before we start, you'll see on these screens, as each recipient is announced, you'll see images that the artist has provided of their work and people who are important to them. And some of these images may show people who have deceased. So just to put that warning out there for everyone, that we'll be remembering many people. I also want to just acknowledge, where's Marinda? Marinda has her child here who is what, not quite 2 months, is that right, Marinda? 7 weeks. who, it's wonderful, this idea of the young being here. And of course, there are people who are significantly older than 7 weeks here as well. And this sense of our community. It's great to see that the breeding program is working so well. And that if we are to remember that over 50% of our population is under 25, there's a sense of how growing it is in it to be an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person in this country. That we are growing and we are strong. And this sense of celebrating who we are, our young and our old, and the contribution of amazing artists. So tonight, we want to start with the first award, which is the 2019 Dreaming Award for a young and emerging artist to develop their artistic practice as well as benefit from the opportunity to create work. This was first presented in 2012, and the Dreaming Awards supports an inspirational young First Nations artist to create a major body of work through mentoring and partnerships, either nationally or internationally, and the recipient is mentored in their chosen discipline by another established professional artist or by an arts institution nominated by that artist. To help help us through this process, I wanted to bring up Thomas E.S. Kelly, who is the recipient of the 2018 Dreaming Award, who will help present the award to the recipient of the 2019 this year. Please welcome Thomas E.S. Kelly.
It's a little bit taller. Jiggity wana benobani, doan jona benobani, garago jona benobani, ya yor jogon, ya garangaling abanyalang yugambe, Radri, and even Watu. My name is Thomas E.S. Kelly, and I'm very happy to be here today at the National Indigenous Arts Awards. For those who don't know me, as Wesley mentioned, I was the recipient of the Dreaming Award last year, and I'll always be grateful for that recognition and support and the opportunities that presented. I was asked to talk a little bit about what I did with it. So very quickly, I used that support to help me with the development and presentation of my most recent major work, CoXN, at Dance Massive, which is Australia's biggest contemporary dance festival that happened down in Melbourne. I'm so thankful that I was able to present that work because it offered opportunities not just for me, but inside of that program, I was able to bring 7 people onto the program, 5 of them being First Nations inside of that work. So there was 7 of us running amok in Melbourne. It was such a great opportunity because I received that at a point where it's kind of where I was ready to take that step and to push myself, and to know that I had the support of the community and of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander panel and community, again, to do something like that. I'm really thankful for that. The show went really well is what people told me, so I'm just going to run with that. Congratulations to all the recipients here today on all the awards. It is a really great achievement. Wesley mentioned that there's many wise, grey-haired, balding people in here. So with my 6 grey hairs, I want to just give my little bit of advice. Don't be scared of the future or any expectations, and be excited to play and explore where you can and whatever lies ahead of you. Be excited for that. As I said last year, I see all of you as you see all of me. So without making you all listen to me any longer, I'd like to announce that this year's 2019 Dreaming Award recipient is Jenna Lee.
She is currently working on projects involving the deconstruction and reconstruction of paper. Jenna's work has already become a key part of Queensland's visual identity through her work with Gillimbah Creative Agency. Their Pulse of Our Ancient Land uses glass, watercolours and moving lights to showcase the life in the lands of the Yagara, Turrbal, Quandamooka, Nunakal, Gurnpul, Nugi and Yugambeh peoples. It can be seen by travellers arriving at Brisbane Airport. And in 2018, athletes in the Commonwealth Games wore Jenna's designs on their uniforms, showcasing her art to an international sporting audience. She has contributed to the Anzac Legacy Gallery, and Unsettled, the Indigenous Youth Artist and Residency program at the Queensland Museum. Jenna was a finalist in the 35th Telstra National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Award for her work Fauna, Flesh and Feeling. She was a finalist in the 2018 Blacktown Art Prize for Recoil, Recall, Recoil, and she was the winner of the 2018 tertiary category in the Book Prize for her artist book, A Plant in the Wrong Place. As well as being an inaugural participant of the Black Curatorial Exchange, Jenna holds a Bachelor of Visual Communication Design from the Queensland College of Art and a Graduate Certificate in Museum Studies from the University of Queensland. She is now working with some of the world's oldest museums in the United Kingdom. There, Jenna is working to uncover hidden artefacts and objects, and with them the stories of her ancestors. Her upcoming project, A Cure for Distance, will bring together emerging First Nations artists to explore feelings of distance and closeness, connection and disconnection in relation to place and ancestral objects. The future is bright for the 2019 recipient of the Dreaming Award for Emerging Artists, Jenna Lee. For her artist book, A Plant in the Wrong Place. As well as being an inaugural participant of the Black Curatorial Exchange, Jenna holds a Bachelor of Visual Communication Design from the Queensland College of Art and a Graduate Certificate in Museum Studies from the University of Queensland. The 2019 Dreaming Award for an Emerging Artist goes to Jenna Lee. Jenna is a Larrakia, Waterman and Garijari woman. She identifies as a queer, mixed-race Asian Aboriginal woman with her art practice strongly influenced by these overlapping identities. Through her art, she explores language, labels and objects and how these intersect to create or challenge the concept of identity. Her practice spans curation, creative design, art making and production. Jenna is constantly collaborating and investigating.
That made me look really good, so thank you. Back down again. Good evening, everybody. I am overwhelmingly honoured and humbled to be standing here tonight to accept the Young and Emerging Dreaming Award. But before I begin, as a guest on this country, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the place in which we gather to celebrate our art and our culture, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I wish to thank their ancestors and their elders for keeping culture strong in this place, just as I would like to thank my ancestors, elders and family who have guided me and supported me on my journey. Distance is not just a measurable space between 2 points. It is a quality that can be felt. It is a deep longing for closeness, for connection, where space and time have created disconnection. Late last year, I relocated to London in order to fulfill a dream I've had since visiting the city over 3 years ago. A dream of creating art inspired by physical closeness and contact with the objects of my ancestors, currently held in some of the oldest and largest collecting institutions in the world. In realising this dream, however, I have placed over 16,000 kilometres of distance between myself, my home, my family, my friends, my community, and my country. 16,000 kilometres of distance between all that I feel a connection to. In order to feel close, I was forced to become distant. I believe our objects feel this distance too. They too long for a sense of closeness, for a chance to connect back to us. Over the next 12 months, I will dedicate myself to attempting to alleviate the distance felt by some of our objects by not only creating new work inspired by accessing the collections in the UK, but also by providing a collaborative experience with other First Nations artists who are living and practicing away from their country. I believe by creating opportunities for young artists like myself to produce work directly inspired by collected objects of our people, we are not only helping to continue our culture, but also enriching the life force of our ancestral objects. There are so many people who have helped me get to this point. I'm truly blessed in my life to have incredible mentors, teachers, family, friends, and community. However, there are a few people I would like to take this opportunity to thank. Firstly, my partner Annie, who has been by my side while we relocated our lives, who has been by my side supporting and cheering me through every one of my successes. To Freya, Amanda and Troy of Blacklash, who are here tonight, whose mentorship and guidance through programs like the Black Curatorial Exchange I attended last year are one of the reasons I am standing on this stage tonight. My sisters, I have 3 of them, who have always been my loudest and most enthusiastic cheer squad, and my mum and dad, who are also here tonight, who have always encouraged me to explore my passions and follow my dreams. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Australia Council and the selectors for choosing me for this amazing opportunity. It's hard to put into words exactly what receiving this award means to me. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for this life-changing award, and I'll work incredibly hard to make most of this opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jenna. And amazing, just to hear her words and hear the intelligence of her words and where they kind of reach back in time as well. I know what it's like to grow up with sisters. It's a fantastic thing. The therapy helps. We're going to move on now to talk about the fellowships. In 2018, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Fellowship, the 2019 Aboriginal Fellowship, these fellowships are about recognising mid-career artists with the support of 2 years to develop a major creative project or program. These fellowships are really about giving artists a step, a time out of the grueling daily workload to do a time of thinking, a time of reimagining for themselves and creating a new body of work or opportunity. These fellowships are such a rare opportunity for an artist to rethink who they are. Tonight we announce that Jacob Boehme is the 2018 recipient of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Fellowship. And I just want to say this about Jacob, and I think you've had a hard, tough bit of time in your life, in your career in the last, let's say, 12 months. But the idea of such leadership, such incredible passion and power and foresight in the world is so rare. And this opportunity to have a fellowship for you, I think, is not just going to be good for you and give you time, but we all as artists and people working in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander arts in this country and the world are going to benefit from your thinking in this time. Jacob, I am so in awe of everything you do because you do it with such integrity and power. And of course that intimidates others. But we're here to celebrate you and this amazing moment of you receiving the 2018 fellowship. Please welcome Jacob Boehme.
Gatekeepers Advisory. This feeds into his longer-term aim to develop a blueprint for a First Nations commissioning festival model. With a 20-year history working in cultural maintenance, research and revival of traditional dance with elders and youth from Indigenous communities across Australia, Jacob will no doubt use his experience in dance, puppetry and playwriting to bring the value of the arts and cultural creation to the forefront of business. Please join me in celebrating the work to date and the work to come of the 2018 Australia Council Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Fellow, Jacob Boehme. The Australia Council Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Fellowship goes to Jacob Boehme.
Jacob, next generation of youth theatre leaders. Jacob is also a recipient of the Asia Link residency, working with the Shara Puppet Theatre Trust in Delhi, India in 2010, and is alumni of the 2014 British Council's Accelerate Indigenous Leaders program. Other international residencies include teaching traditional and contemporary Aboriginal dance at Teatri Illuminio in Helsinki, Finland, and the Shakespeare Festival Linz, Austria. As part of his fellowship, Jacob will undertake a program of strategic international residencies where he will partner with international First Nations and non-Indigenous host organisations, such as Ontario Presents in Canada, Boehme Festival in Taiwan, and the Manchester International Festival in the UK. He will use these travels to develop strategic international partnerships for the development and presentation of First Nations contemporary arts. He has said, "This fellowship helps me to work more deeply with elders and thought leaders, locally and internationally, about how we can build future culture-based economies led by First Peoples that has the potential to influence how we practice the business of the arts." Jacob will also deepen connections between Australian First Peoples and international First Nations artists and organisations by establishing a First Peoples advisory. This feeds into his longer-term aim to develop a blueprint for a First Nations commissioning festival model. With a 20-year history working in cultural maintenance, research and revival of traditional dance with elders and youth from Indigenous communities across Australia, Jacob will no doubt use his experience in dance, puppetry and playwriting to bring the value of the arts and cultural creation to the forefront of business. Please join me in celebrating the work to date and the work to come of the 2018 Australia Council Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Fellow, Jacob Boehme.
Thank you, and thank you, Wesley, you bugger, you made me cry. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I would like to pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to all elders here in the room with us tonight. Thank you to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Board and the Australia Council for the Arts for this prestigious fellowship. An acknowledgement like this for the work I've done to date, and particularly in establishing the Yirramboi Festival, developing an Indigenous-led framework for the presentation of Indigenous arts, is extremely encouraging. This fellowship has come at a time when I've really needed a boost from my peers and the sector. And the sector itself to keep going, to work harder, to continue to take risks, and to push the envelope. The fact that the awards are happening on such an auspicious date like tonight makes it all the more potent. With this fellowship, as Lydia has mentioned in the intro, I intend to research and develop alternative business models for the creation of a new and independent First Nations Arts Festival, which looks at how future economies, global First Nations knowledge systems, and the climate change mandates and sustainable development goals set out by the United Nations impacts on how we make, what we make, how we trade, and who we trade with. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks and deep gratitude to the Australia Council for the Arts for this wonderful opportunity and their continued investment in my development. I also want to give out a little shout out to my soon-to-be husband, Stephen Borg, for putting up with me. And with that, thank you to all my friends, my peers and colleagues for this wonderful opportunity and for supporting me throughout my career. I won't let you down.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Jacob. Congratulations. I think it's we at the Australia Council who should be grateful to you. This year, as you've heard, along with the National Indigenous Arts Award recipients, we are honouring artists who have been awarded the Australia Council Fellowships in the past and Australia Council Awards. The Council offers fellowships, as you've heard, to support outstanding established artists' creative activity and professional development. So I would like to welcome the recipients of the 2018 Australia Council Fellowships, Ali Cobby Eckerman for the 2018 Literature Fellowship and Vernon R. Key for the 2018 Visual Arts Fellowship.
Alongside Jacob Boehme, 2 other fellows of the Australia Council from the 2018 round are First Nations artists. Fellowships are awarded to support outstanding, established artists' creative activity and professional development for a period of up to 2 years. Tonight, we also recognise Vernon Arkey, who received the 2018 Australia Council Fellowship for Visual Arts, and Ali Cobby Eckerman, who received the 2018 Australia Council Fellowship for Literature. Vernon is a conceptual artist using text pieces, videos, photographs and drawings to form a critique of Australian culture from the perspective of the Aboriginal experience of contemporary life. His work has been exhibited at the National Gallery of the 16th Biennale of Sydney, the Venice Biennale, the State Library of Queensland, the National Gallery of Canada, the 14th Istanbul Biennale, the Museum of Contemporary Art and the Tate Modern. With this fellowship, he is developing and creating 2 new bodies of work, as well as pushing his career internationally through an exhibition at the Tate Modern in London and other global exhibitions. Ali Cobby Eckerman is a poet. She has received global support for her collections, with editions of her works published in India and the United States. In 2018, she was Australian Poetry Ambassador to Ireland and has presented internationally at festivals such as the Ledbury Poetry Festival, Georgetown Literature Festival in Malaysia and the Jaipur Literary Festival in India. Ali is the first Aboriginal Australian writer to participate in the renowned International Writing Program in Iowa and featured at the International Jazz Poetry Festival in Pittsburgh, alongside acclaimed international poets Gerard Stern, Kai Miller and TJ Demmer. Ali's fellowship comes at an ambitious stage in her literary practice, one where she will explore new parameters of the written word. The fellowship is being used to support her first prose fiction novel and is sponsoring the research and travel required for the story, a love story set in 2 deserts. Please join me in recognising the artistic excellence of Vernon Arkey and Ali Cobby Eckerman.
I too would like to acknowledge that we're on Gadigal country and pay respects to the spirit of this country that keeps welcoming me back with such fond memories of the elders that I meet here, my peers, the friends that I've made, the mischief that I've got up to. I want to acknowledge OzCo. I was very overwhelmed last year when notified of the fellowship, and totally blown away with this gesture tonight. I'm a stolen generation Yankunytjatjara survivor. My poetry journey began in the central deserts on my traditional land as I reconnected with my family. I was guided by senior Nunkery and lawmen and women. Whilst they have died, they also remain with me. I hear their voices often and I feel their presence. They remain the best editors for my work. I can only celebrate this award and accept this award in their memory. I love my family and am so grateful for their guidance and wisdom. The old people are my heart. Fill your hearts with our truth. Tonight, as a poet and writer, I will call myself an artist. No more will I accept literature as the poor cousin of the arts. Aboriginal literature has always been and continues to be. I acknowledge the storytellers of the past and the future. I acknowledge my peers. There are too many to mention, but as an aside, Jennifer Kamara Martinello, I knew as a writer, and she's now a fabulous artist that has made me the award. I'm going to hold that in my heart. Aboriginal writers have won every mainstream literary prize in Australia. We will continue to do so because we write our truths. As award-winning artists, we cannot be rich when our families are poor. As artists, we cannot be free from the effects of invasion. We work to articulate suffering through the beauty of our work. For generations, our families have carried their fires across this heartland. In a contemporary sense, I believe as artists, we continue this practice. Always we are seeking knowledge deep within ourselves and beyond. We convey these learnings in our work for healing and education. For me, it is important that as artists, we treat each other with kindness. Award recognition is important, yet I believe the awards are always about the work, not the person. I believe it is our shared responsibility to foster our practice in all we do, as was mentored to me in the desert. We have a responsibility to stand united because we are still at war to reclaim our true standing on our sacred lands. Always was, always will be. I'm going to read a poem in language. It's International Year of Languages, and I will apologise to Robert Fielding for my baby pitantara. Kurampa palacha, Walcha Kuchu, Kana Kulampa, Nina Nina, Walcha Anka, Kana Puka Rinkula, Nailu Wanti, Katinya, Naiku Walcha, Nailu Walchi Pa Kulani, Nailu Wachi Larini, Waku, Wama Chikara, Nailu Reverse Chargi Milani, Naiku Walcha, Munu Nailu Ilara, Nailu Jungani, Naiku Walcha Judah, Kurampuwea Palacha, Walcha Kuchi. There is no life but family.
Thank you, Ali. And now please welcome Vernon Aki.
Thank you to the theatre people here for ordering me about. I want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation here and in Sydney, outside where it's cold and inside where it's warm. Also, the people of the Greater Eora Nation and in Greater Sydney. Thank you all. Yeah, it was a bit overwhelming last year being notified of this, and because I had a few ideas about what I wanted to do, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll apply for a fellowship to see what we can achieve. So I spent it all with the first project.
there were a couple of stills of in the video of the project that I made, and it was a video, a multi-channel video that I showed in Brisbane, and it was called The Island, and I made it because I wanted to draw a line between what happened on Palm Island in the 1920s, particularly to my grandparents and great-grandparents, and what's happening with refugees now, particularly asylum seekers. And it's the same thing. And I thought and still think that if anybody should be talking about refugees and to refugees, in particular, it should be blackfellas. So that's why and so I have a couple of other projects as well as that, and drawing this line between the treatment of blackfellas here and currently the historical treatment of blackfellas and what is currently happening to refugees. It shows that this country has not changed, has not learned any lessons, and will not. Surely the election that we just had demonstrated, especially in Queensland, that it hasn't changed and has only actually become more hardline. So I won't go on, but do watch the video if you get the opportunity, and it's new, so I think it's it hasn't shown anywhere else yet, but I'll let you know. To finish with, I was asked. I think of myself as a conceptual artist, but in my core I'm a drawer, and I use charcoal, and I was asked why I still keep using charcoal when I've used everything to draw with. And it's just that when we first started writing our history as humans on this planet, when we first started communicating to each other, it would have been in drawing in charcoal onto stone walls. And I tell you now, when this planet is done with us, with people, with the idea of humans, the idea of us, the last mark we leave will be in charcoal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another great night, or a great day on the Australia Council calendar, is when we present our Australia Council Awards, which recognise outstanding and sustained contributions by artists in music, literature, community arts, cultural development, emerging and experimental arts, visual arts, theatre and dance. And earlier this year, 3 eminent First Nations artists received the Australia Council Awards for Theatre, Dance and Community Arts and Cultural Development. I guess we wanted to relive that experience. It was an important night for us all and celebrate the work of our recipients through their extraordinary talent and leadership. So we'll meet them each in turn again. In 2019 Australia Council Award for Theatre, the recipient was Rachel Mazza.
Rachel Mazza is the recipient of the 2019 Australia Council Award for Theatre. Rachel is a Yidinji Meriam woman, an actor, director, dramaturg and cultural leader. With this award, we celebrate Rachel's achievements as a theatre artist, her work as artistic director of Obituary Theatre for the past 10 years, and her incredible work as a cultural leader. This award celebrates her artistic courage, her tenacity of spirit, and the undeniable impact of her work, both on and off the stage. She has been the artistic director for Obituary Theatre Company since 2008 and sits on the board of ACME, as well as the Circus Oz Indigenous Advisory Panel and Opera Australia's Indigenous Advisory Panel. She has previously been a panellist for the Balnave's Indigenous Playwrights Award and is currently on the Theatre Company's panel for the Green Room Awards. Rachel's extraordinary contribution across many areas, including as an actor, director and artistic director, made her a standout nominee, with the panel noting the long-term and ongoing impact of her work across multiple disciplines. Rachel advocates strongly for First Nations theatre making and brings a wealth of acting, directing and dramaturgical experience and profile to Black theatre in Australia. Rachel's exceptional work champions Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders to tell their own stories, challenge stereotypes and celebrate achievements. Her work tours locally, nationally and internationally, seeing success with a variety of audiences. Rachel has worked closely with many of Australia's major theatre companies, including Belvoir and Black Swan. As a performer, Rachel has contributed to several milestone productions, including Radiance at Belvoir, for which she won a Sydney Theatre Critics Circle Award, The Aboriginal Protesters, directed by Noel Tovey, The Dreamers, written by Jack Davis and directed by Wesley Enoch, and The Sapphires for MTC, Playbox and Belvoir. Rachel received the 2003 Uncle Bob Mazza Memorial Award for Outstanding Contribution to Victorian Indigenous Theatre at the Victorian Indigenous Performing Arts Awards. She also received a Green Room Award for Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role for Holiday. She has appeared on film and television and has also worked as a narrator for ABC Radio National and as Indigenous Liaison Advisor on films such as the multi-award-winning Rabbit Proof Fence. I first saw Jack Charles vs. The Crown in 2011, which Rachel directed with Uncle Jack Charles, and then had the pleasure of presenting the work for Perth Festival the following year. This is one of those works that simply stops you in your tracks. Beautiful, raw, and honest, this work has now made its way around the world, connecting with audiences. But I actually couldn't say when I first encountered Rachel, because in the 20 years I've worked in the sector, her voice, perspective, advice, and vision has always been a critical part of the important conversations. It's impossible to capture the ripple effects of every interaction, every young artist Rachel has supported and nurtured, every rehearsal room she has led, every play she has helped shape, every audience member she's connected to and changed. So tonight we acknowledge the importance of it all and celebrate you and wish you continued energy to keep doing everything that you do. Thank you, Rachel, for your generosity, your insight, your passion, your grace, and your wicked sense of humour. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the 2019 recipient for the Australia Council Award for Theatre, the extraordinary Rachel Mazza.
I really wasn't expecting to say anything, but just how incredibly humbled and honoured I am, and also like to acknowledge the land that we're on and pay our respects to the people of this land, the Gadigal nation of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I'm ever humbled when I think about Sydney, particularly, was the front line of colonisation. That the mob here were the ones who had to deal with the longest and the most intense impacts of colonisation. So here's to the Gadigal for the incredible honour that we all have of, enjoying this incredible land. And I also just want to acknowledge what an incredible honour it is to do the thing that we do, to make story. And as a First Nations person of this land, well, a mix of cultures, but that part of me that is of this land, this country, the incredible, extraordinary honour it is to be able to be a part of this very, very, very ancient long songline that goes back. I know there's been a few figures, but I like the 80,000 and beyond version. I reckon it's just because they haven't dug deep enough. Keep digging. We've been here from the beginning. But what an extraordinary honour it is to celebrate the incredible stories of this country. And who was it that spoke earlier? But it was you. But that we will get to a point where Australia really does celebrate and in a way that does enrich us all as a nation. The stories of this country. So the incredible honour I've had at my role at Ilbidgeri to be able to support, as I definitely see myself as a facilitator, supporter of, but the stories of Jack Charles. What an incredible honour it is to be and basically it's about just getting out of the way and letting those stories shine. And Jacob Boehme, your incredible story, another extraordinary leader. It just is such an honour. So thank you and thank you and thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. The last time I introduced this person, she literally danced her way to the stage, so who knows what we have in store. But joining previous recipients of the Australia Council Award for Dance, recipients like Philip Adams, Stephen Page, Lucy Gehring and Gary Stewart, the 2019 Australia Council Award for Dance was awarded to Vicky Van Hoot.
The Australia Council Award for Dance recognises the achievements of an artist who has made an outstanding and sustained contribution to Australian dance. The 2019 Australia Council Award for Dance goes to Vicky Van Hoot. With over 20 years of experience, Vicky Van Hoot has made an incredible impact on Australia's stage and Australia's cultural narrative. Her commitment to charting new territories through her work has challenged existing stories and prompted contemporary conversations, and has done so with honesty, humour, and an excellence of creative practice. Vicky is a Wiradjuri woman with Dutch, Scottish, and Afghan heritage who combines traditional and contemporary movement to create multifaceted and engaging explorations of modern cultural identity. To quote Julia Cotton from the Sydney Morning Herald, Van Hoot is at once auteur and collaborator. Her vision and choreography are exquisitely distinctive, her creations woven through collaboration. After graduating from Nasda Dance College and studying modern and postmodern dance at the Martha Graham School of Contemporary Dance in New York, Vicky has performed with major Indigenous dance companies, Bangarra Dance Theatre and the Aboriginal Islander Dance Theatre, as well as working as a director and performer in the theatre and a choreographer for ATYP, Pulse 8, Nasda, WAPA, the Helpman Awards and Quantum Leap. Vicky has completed various residencies in Australia and overseas, including in Austria and Singapore. In 2014, she was awarded the New South Wales Dance Fellowship for Established and Mid-Career Artists, and she was the first Indigenous winner of this fellowship. The work Longgrass was featured in the 2015 Dance Massive program, and her show Brilliant was the first ever show by an independent Indigenous choreographer to tour nationally. The work was nominated for an Australian Dance Award for Best Achievement in Independent Dance. Most recently, her piece Plenty Serious Talk Talk explored the negotiation of culture across creative disciplines and the consultation process involved in making Indigenous art. It is big, loud and complex, full of Vicky's voice asking questions, making statements and waiting for a response. Vicky's choreographic works are powerful and not limited to medium. The pieces she creates incorporate different dance styles and languages. They include spoken word, weaving, shadow play, video and text to tell meaningful stories about contemporary issues. It is a pleasure to recognise her impact tonight. Please join me in congratulating the 2019 recipient for the Australia Council Award for Dance, Vicky Van Hoot.
I'll keep it brief because I talk too much. I wanted to dance, but I couldn't dance because I've busted my leg doing a judo fight. I've busted the outside of my leg. I wanted to say that, we complement each other in that dance is one of those things where you put your body on the line, where everything is intimate, everything is right there. I've had the pleasure of working with Ian, with Katina, with Hartley. I saw Hartley. With Tom, with Tari. What is really beautiful is that I'm but a conduit. I I'm not the first, and I will not be the last. And I've had, you know, the pleasure of working with people or being mentored by, I was going to say by Rhoda, by Lydia, and by Rachel's dad. And so I feel like this is, like I said, this is like an extended family. I know when people, you know, we're the weather vanes, so it's really important that you're doing the work about the environment. We are the weather vanes. We are the people, we're the first people to touch the ground. We're the people that communicate, you know, it's the environment that tells us, you know, how we're doing, what we're doing. We speak to it. It is our past and it is our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much. The Australia Council Ros Bauer Award for Community Arts and Cultural Development honours journalist, television producer, community arts pioneer and founding director of the Council's inaugural Community Arts Board, Ros Bauer. The 2019 Ros Bauer Award was presented to Rhoda Roberts.
I am honoured and thrilled to be introducing the Ros Bauer Award recipient. The Ros Bauer Award is for an arts worker who's made an outstanding and sustained contribution to community arts and cultural development. In 2019, this award goes to Miss Rhoda Roberts. Rhoda is a member of the Bundjalung Nation, the Widjabul clan. She has worked across television, radio, the stage, and much more. Currently, she works as the head of First Nations programming at the Sydney Opera House, as the festival director of the Boomerang Festival in Byron Bay, creative director of the Pajama Festival in Alice Springs, and is also an associate at the Northern Rivers Performing Arts Centre. Rhoda was the founder and festival director of the Dreaming Festivals, a festival celebrating contemporary living Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures of this country, across music, theatre, dance, song, visual arts, weaving and much more. She was also a co-founding member of the Aboriginal National Theatre Trust. Rhoda's work continues to grow the international audience for Australian First Nations work. She was artistic director of the Festival of the Dreaming, staged in the lead-up Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. She worked on the Rugby World Cup in 2003 and the Athens handover ceremony. Across her roles, she has demonstrated the expertise and experience required to work on any event as a respected arts industry leader. Her work has featured in the opening ceremony of the Musée de Quai Branly in Paris, the Japan Expo and World Youth Day events, and each year since 2016 on the Sydney Harbour Bridge and pylons for the City of Sydney New Year's Eve program, broadcast to millions around the world. Rhoda has been recognised for her distinguished service to the performing arts, leadership, advocacy and promoting contemporary First Nations culture. She has received a Helpman Award, the Sue Nattrass Award 2018, a Deadly Award for Broadcasting in 1998, and a Sydney Myer Facilitators Award in 1997. Through her work, she celebrates Australian Nations cultures as both contemporary and ancient. She shows these cultures as adaptive, living, evolving expressions of First Nations people today. At the Sydney Opera House, she sees First Nations dance groups come from all across Australia to showcase their strong and vibrant cultures on the steps of the Sydney Opera House through dance rites. And with Badugili, meaning water light, she transforms artworks into light and sound projections onto the sails of the Sydney Opera House. Please join me in congratulating the 2019 recipient of the Ros Bauer Award for Community Arts and Cultural Development, Miss Rhoda Roberts.
So on the side, one leg bent, tongue on the top of the palate, do the turtle. Oh, the things you learn in theatre. Thank you all so very, very much. You know, every day I get to walk when I'm in Sydney and I come to work at the Sydney Opera House, I get to walk on the lands of the Gadigal. It's truly extraordinary. And when I walk along Circular Quay, I crisscross where that original shoreline was, and I do reminisce. And when I get to the house and I look at those monumental steps, I think of Bennelong. And I think, wow, it's quite extraordinary because this wasn't actually his country. He was a Wongal man. But this was an incredible place of gathering and education and story and dance. And I just go, wow, I work here. Would I have ever thought of that when I was young? I certainly wouldn't have thought that I would be given an award for the pleasure and the delight and the inherited legacy I have to do this job that I do. And it's the artists and our cultural authorities that make this job purposeful. In the arts, and I really thank Ross Bauer for this award because, yes, I've also spent the money. And it was fabulous because we were able to have all these extra acts at Boomerang this year. But I need to look at why we do it and thank her because she worked across community. And for me, community really resonates when I think of my father, Frank Roberts, and his work culminating in a newspaper that would go around our country called Mail. And he wanted to look at the philosophy and the ideology of who we were and why we connected. But most importantly, we had to connect to those cultural authorities. Today, while I used to follow my father around the country, today I'm absolutely delighted, and I can't see her, but she's the good-looking one in the audience. I have my 18-year-old daughter, Sarah Roberts Lydia. Where are you? Nothing like shaming her. She is going to continue that inherited legacy. You know, every action, every sound, every step, every paint, every piece of music that we make as First Nations people impact on our society. And we grasp that with pride, and we say, we are First Peoples. And in the mainstream, they too have that voice, but nothing like we have to carry. And our cultural conscience in this industry needs to be adjusted. It needs to hear that First Nations voice. We can make the music and the dance and the paint and the story, but we know we're carrying obligation. We're carrying responsibility. And I really appreciate this award, but I know it is not possible without my colleagues like Lydia and Rachel. It's not possible without the extraordinary talent we have in our artists. They carry that legacy. They listen to those cultural authorities and they bring it to the world, and often at the cost of their own lives and their families. So for us to be in the arts, we have created this incredible family. I thank you for doing the writing, doing the dance, painting the pictures, playing the music, because you take risks with our culture and you enable that culture to live in the 21st century. And how extraordinary that is as part of this creative sector of Australia. And I know one day, very, very soon, because there are the extraordinary young artists coming through who will take the risk, but they'll also enable that voice that we in the creative industries as First Nations people are the first economy. And that economy will become our success in the future. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations to all the recipients of the awards tonight, and there are so many. It's so fantastic to hear the voices of artists and how passionate they are. But also the thing that I've been listening to is this idea of the family, this idea of passing on from one generation to the next important legacies of art, of culture, of relationship. It's now the time for the presentation for the 2019 Red Ochre Awards. This is one of the most prestigious First Nations arts awards in the country, and it's our chance to celebrate our elders who have made an incredible contribution to this, our country. The Red Ochre was established in 1993 to honour an eminent Aboriginal and/or Torres Strait Islander artist who has made an outstanding lifelong contribution to the recognition of Indigenous arts in Australia and around the world. The award is made to artists whose contribution to their art form deserves public recognition. It showcases a life and work that acts as inspiration to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artists. In 2017, 2 Red Ochre Awards were presented for the first time to both a male and a female artist worthy of that. And it is absolutely thrilling that this continues to this day. A recognition of our men's business, our women's business, our sense of our elders in both genders, and hopefully in the future, other genders that might occur. Please welcome to the stage. Oh yes, we can have so many more Red Ochres. Adrian, just get ready for it. Please welcome back to the stage the Australia Council Deputy Chair, Leanne Juniper Buckskin, to present the 2019 Red Ochre Awards.
Okay. The Red Ochre Awards are indeed an honouring of the outstanding lifetime achievements of our senior artists, an acknowledgement of their creative contribution over many decades when their contributions were not recognised. As we see tonight, many generations of artists from across the nation are present, and to truly achieve, you must believe it is possible because you see others have paved the way. Tonight, we are all together to bear witness to the achievements of our artists. I am honoured to announce the male recipient for the 2019 Red Ochre Award goes to Uncle Jack Charles.
The 2019 male recipient of the Red Ochre Award for Lifetime Achievement is Uncle Jack Charles. Uncle Jack Charles is a beloved and respected elder, an actor, musician, potter and gifted performer. Acknowledged as the grandfather of Aboriginal theatre in Australia, Uncle Jack co-founded the first Aboriginal theatre company, Nindathana Theatre, with Bob Mazza in 1972. In 1974, he played Benelong in the Old Tote Theatre stage production of Cradle of Hercules at the Sydney Opera House. He went on to star in ABC television series of Ben Hall in 1975, Rush in 1976, and The Chant of Jimmy Blacksmith in 1978. His acting career spans over 6 decades and has touched many across the globe. He was also recipient of a Green Room Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014. But in his 75 years, Uncle Jack has also seen grief. As a member of the stolen generation, he has spent many years without a home and in a cycle of addiction and prison time. Uncle Jack Charles' resilience shows through an extraordinary generosity of spirit and his determination and passion for working with those on the inside. Jack can be heard in prisons fighting against recidivism. Jack's generosity in this context derives from his belief, who better to talk to these men than someone who understands all too well their experience? The stage theatre production Jack Charles vs. the Crown, co-written by Jack Charles and John Romerell, directed by Rachel Mazza and produced by Obituary Theatre Company, was an almost entirely autobiographical work. Through it, Jack was able to bring the lived experience of being a member of the stolen generation to the world with empathy and charm. The work has toured extensively and internationally, bringing the stories of his people to many around the globe. The production won the prestigious Drovers Award for Best Tour from the Australian Performing Arts Centres Association, as well as a Helpman Award for Best Regional Touring Production in 2012. Other recent works include Gods of Wheat Street, Pan, alongside Hugh Jackman, Wolf Creek, the television series, ABC's Clever Man, Black Comedy, ABC's Play School. He is a Boon Wurrung and Dja Wurrung man and is a respected elder right across the nation, both within the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community and to the Australian arts sector more broadly. He is a highly regarded and respected actor and writer, but it's his work within the community that he is most passionate about. Please join me in acknowledging the ongoing and powerful contribution of the 2019 male recipient of the Red Ochre Award for Lifetime Achievement, Jack Charles. The 2019 male recipient of the Red Ochre Award for Lifetime...
To say that I've heard some great speeches tonight from people who have been awarded well-deserved awards, and well, I think that Bunjil, God, whoever it is, a power that is greater than we can ever imagine, has conspired to keep me here, alive, with my trams and trains intact, and still treading the boards, fronting the camera, being an advocate, and going into the neck. And that these are extraordinary things that have kept me empowered to be able to be productive and to be a leading, well, I like to say, a black light in amongst our troubled souls in our prison systems and youth detention centres and on the streets, in our communities and that. So it's been wonderful. I remember being here years ago with that Cradle of Hercules and that, and I remember Rachel must have been about 12 and that, and she saw something she never wanted to see again, with that seeing me, in the nutty on the stage here and that, But there was a lesson there. There was a lesson there. There was a lesson there because, they were the old tote at that time, the Sydney Theatre Company. And, it needed an old thief, an old crim, a serial pest nuisance to prompt the consciences of those people to have those 6 Redfern girls paid the same rate of money that Gulpilil, myself, and the 17 old tote members were being paid. And that's one of the memorable times of my life working here in the Opera House. And that, and I've done quite a few shows here over the years. I just love this place. And to be playing Bennelong of all places, of all people, to be brought up from my country, a person who knew very little, absolutely nothing of my circumstances. I didn't know that I was a Boonwurrung man on my great side, Wurundjeri on my father's side, which I only found out last year. So it's been a bit late, me recovering on that journey, like many stolen people have had to undertake of finding out who do you think you are. Well, I now know who I am. There's a portion of it, the story to unfold, and that's my connection to Tasmania. Unrolling the names of your people listed in your heritage. It stretches from here, that wall to that wall there. And I find that the name Truganini on there, Tommy McRae. So there's more stories for this little black duck to be following, to seek and to understand and to lock into my psyche. I'm still missing elements of my story. So once I complete it, I am writing my book now. I think you all know it. I'm calling it Jack Charles, a born-again black. But really, I am passionate about what I found from the Koori Heritage Trust and Link Up. Uncle Jimmy Berg's given me all this. So I am, everybody knows that I'm, a bit of a giggler, a laugher, totally up myself and, comfortable with it and that, I have to make up for the small size, only 2 centimetres short of 5 foot, I got a lot of things to complain about, really. But look, I am absolutely, it's been wonderful that the Arts Council has taken me seriously, and that has, it's finally come to this, to be awarded the prestigious award of the Red Ochre Award this year, following Uncle Bob Mass's footsteps. We were the grandfathers of Indigenous theatre here on the landscape of Australia, and somehow or another, Bunjil or Boehme has, kept me sane and front on into cameras and into the eyes of the general public. So it's a hoot. It's a big award. It's a big boost for me to be awarded the Red Ochre Award for 2019. Thank you very much, Arts Council. And thank you, people.
Congratulations, Uncle Jack Charles. A well-deserved award. As Wesley said this evening, we are pleased to announce that we are also awarding a second Red Ochre Award to recognise the outstanding lifetime achievement of a female artist. It was a real passion of mine to ensure that not only did we give one award, in our communities, part of the reality is that we don't have a lifetime compared to others in this country. So it was the board's decision and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander strategy panel's decision to ensure that we find the resources to have a second award. And this is something that I would hope that anyone in the room, please, it's so important that we increase the capacity of these awards. We see the tremendous outcome and the service that our artists give back to this country. I am honoured to announce the second of this year's Red Ochre, and it goes to Aunty Lola, Greeno.
The 2019 female recipient of the Red Ochre Award for Lifetime Achievement is Lola Greeno. Lola Greeno is a Pakana shell artist, curator, educator and arts worker. Born in 1946 on Cape Barren Island, Lola now lives in Launceston in northern Tasmania, using her art to connect an ancient practice to contemporary communities. Lola Greeno is one of a handful of women shell stringers responsible for ensuring the craft is passed from the elders. This skill was passed down to Lola from her mother and maternal grandmother, and today she is continuing this tradition, passing down the skills and respect for the environmentally responsible collection of shells to her daughter and granddaughters. This, coupled with her ongoing contribution to arts practice, curation, writing and storytelling through her craft, offers the stories of her ancestors to future generations. Lola's career of 30 years has seen her work exhibited and collected by the likes of the Powerhouse Museum, National Gallery of Australia, the National Gallery of Victoria, the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery, the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery, and the Queensland Art Gallery. In 2014, Lola Greeno was recognised with Australian Design Centre's Living Treasure Master of Australian Craft Award. This career has had a wide impact as noted in her nomination. Tina Baum, curator at the National Gallery of Australia, said Lola Greeno's practice traverses time and deeply embodies her unbroken cultural customs. Inspired by her history, traditional food sources, the landscape and the importance of family and culture, Lola's art reveals the intersection of traditional practice with contemporary life. Brian Parks, CEO of Jam Factory, noted her remarkable work in life, which has brought significant international attention to the powerful culture and compelling stories of Tasmania's Aboriginal peoples. Her importance as an elder was noted by artist and writer Julie Goff, who said she is a relentless advocate for Aboriginal arts, has worked tirelessly for the Aboriginal arts sector for decades while maintaining and honouring her family's traditional shell work. She transforms boundaries and notions of traditional and contemporary works into ongoing conversations and celebration. And her connection to the island of Tasmania, the sea, the land, and its relationship with time and tradition was also acknowledged by many others in the visual arts sector, including Kathleen Von Witt, the director of Hawkesbury Regional Art Gallery, and Richard Mulvaney, former director of Queen Victoria Melbourne Art Gallery. It is a pleasure to join these voices in acknowledging the ongoing impact of Lola Greeno. She places us in a moment, connecting us through her work to the past, the future, and the tangibility of this moment. Please join me in acknowledging the inspirational and vital contribution of the 2019 female recipient of the Red Ochre Award for Lifetime Achievement, Lola Greeno.
Gosh, it's amazing. It's probably the biggest thing that's happened to me in my life. But first of all, I would like to recognise and pay my respects to the traditional owners, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, in which we celebrate today. I would like to thank the Australia Council for the Arts for the special award that has recognised the talents of many Indigenous people for their lifetime achievements. I know there's a great deal of work that is required to encourage and promote, to reach out to artists and arts workers far and wide, not only for this award, but to all areas of the Australian arts industry. I would like to thank all of you, especially the people who supported my nomination, written by Tina Baum, Lisa Cahill, the CEO of the Australian Design Centre, a group of women, a professional in their field, who wrote support was Professor Maggie Walters, Dr. Julie Goff, my friend Sue Hodge, Glenda King, who generously wrote support letters for my application. I very much appreciate the time and the effort that you found out of your very busy careers. I am delighted to accept this award. I feel very proud, honoured, humble to receive such a National Indigenous Red Ochre Award as an Aboriginal woman coming from a very isolated group of islands. I am extremely proud. It makes me think of the words to the song, "From Little Things, Big Things Grow," by Paul Kelly. It's always been my ambition to strive to carry on the legacy of my mother, my grandmother's knowledge and skills. Our families continue to work hard to maintain our significant cultural women's practice. I am dedicated to be passing on our heritage to my daughter Vanessa, my granddaughters Charlize and Sheridan. Without my family's support, and especially my husband Rex, I doubt I would be standing here today. For Tasmanian Aboriginal women shell necklace makers to succeed today in developing quality necklaces, it requires the support of their families to maintain and produce quality products for major exhibitions. Each year, our family studies the calendar for the tides, check the sea level, the low tides, the date, the time, whether those tides are during the day, how low the tides are for us to collect. We travel together, we collect together as a group. My cultural practice is my life. My life is my family. We aim to maintain our cultural practice to country by travelling to beaches. At times we stay away overnight as part of our story of working together. In recent years, my husband Rex, my son Dean and grandson Harrison have focused on building their bark canoes. Finally, I wish to thank all of the Australia Council, the Indigenous Strategic Development Unit, the leadership team. I am overwhelmed to receive such a huge National Indigenous Art Award. I now feel like I'm a big star. I know this will make my heart sing. Thank you.
Thank you, Aunty Lola. Aunty Lola is far too modest to actually say it's her birthday today. So, all together, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Lola, happy birthday to you. Hip it! Hip it! Hip it! Congratulations, Aunty Lola. You make our hearts sing as well. And Uncle Jack, I so want to see you do a nudie run tonight. Congratulations to all the recipients of the fellowships and the awards, this sense of our family of artists who are leading the way in this country. Can I say thank you too for your patience tonight in helping celebrate these amazing artists. I'd also like to acknowledge the hard work of Alana to my right here. And Carolyn and an incredible team backstage who put it all together. Give them a round of applause. I think we would agree that this is a really, really special occasion. We don't get to do this very often. To lift ourselves up and feel the inspiration that can carry us through for another year. To hear the beginning of some journeys, those who are on the way, those who have achieved a pinnacle, who are saying, come this way. These artists are our role models, our elders, our leaders, those who give us hope. And in these days, we need more of that hope, the more of the telling of our stories, and the more of the acknowledgement of our hard work. This is an incredible time of year for many reasons. It's a time of long memories, of recognition, of a sense of celebration, and a sense of marking out a future. These awards give us that moment in time to step out and say, we can do more, we can do better, we can make change. Thank you for coming on this journey tonight. It's an incredible experience to sit in this room and feel a positivity that lifts us up, teaches us new lessons and takes us forward. As a few little kind of nuts and bolts things, we'll still have some drinks and things, but I know that there's a number of things going on to make your way over if you sing Churukai as part of the performance tonight. That starts at 8:30, so you might have to move that way soon. And I know I want all the recipients of the awards to come for one big group photo here. So don't leave straight away. Don't go talk to your family and friends. I know how it gets. Come here first, we'll get the photo taken so everyone can then enjoy their company. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all those who stood for all this time. It's fantastic to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, my name is Wesley Enoch. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next year. Thank you very much.